Hello YouTube, Mr. Jake Awesome here, finally, with the third part of my three-part Halo Reach review. The first part was a preview, the second part was another preview. This is not a preview, no, this is a review. It's like a preview, only I'm going back, instead of going forward, like you would in a preview. This is the review I had you waiting months for, even though most of you probably unsubscribed, because I didn't do work, and I didn't try to record, because I was lazy, and I was bored, and I was kinda hungry. So I said, I'll have a few more Panda Express bowls and I'll record it, but guess what, I didn't, but I am now, so yeah. Enjoy the review, and don't send any more messages about it, please. This review is going to be done in a kind of interesting way that's been done 100 times before, only with my amazing twist on it. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. My awesome twist on it. It's going to be made into 5 categories. Those categories will be story, visuals, sound, gameplay, and other. Yeah, other's the best of all, because it covers all those little things that don't go into any of the other categories. I sound pumped! Okay, I'm actually not that pumped, I'm just recording, so yeah. The final review score is going to come after all the other ones, but I will give, you know, the smaller, like, story, visuals, sound, their own little scores to accommodate the review, too. So yeah, you can just skip to the end and find the score, or you can have fun and watch the video. That's what YouTube is here for. Watch it, or I will destroy you. First up is story. Unlike the other Halo games, you don't take reins as Master Chief or the Rookie. Oh no, you're playing as a new character altogether. His name is Noble 6. He was a Spartan 3 who fought on Reach during its fall, right before the events of the first Halo game. The story basically covers him joining a new squad called Noble Team that was heavily, you know, honored and prestigious as they fight to protect Reach and its secrets from the Covenant. The story is actually kind of a lot more interesting than the core 3 Halo games, and kind of has an ODST approach with intricate characters that all, you know, differ greatly in personality. But unlike ODST, you don't play as those characters. You're Noble 6 through and through. What's interesting, though, is that you are Noble 6, not some other character like the Rookie or Master Chief. You design him, you're his armor and whatnot, you choose his gender. So basically Noble 6 is sort of a reflection of the own player in the Halo universe, which I thought was interesting. But don't let that scare you. A lot of times you design your own character, it's usually some dumb story where everything revolves around you without you doing anything. No. Just despite the fact that, you know, you are Noble 6 for the most part, he still is very deep in the story, and unlike the Rookie, actually talks. That's why I say you pick a gender. He doesn't just go, "Arr! Ah! Ah! Reloading!" Yeah, there's more to his character than that. Granted, he doesn't talk much, but when he does, it's actually kind of cool because he does have pretty good voice work. With that said, all the other characters are voiced well. Not the Firefly cast this time, unfortunately, like an ODST, but we do have some really great talent here. Now, some can argue that some characters like June, you know, are annoying, but I like to overlook that and just think that their voices all attribute to their personality and traits. So yeah. Next comes sound. The sound shouldn't take too long. Basically, it's sort of what you'd expect from Marty O'Donnell, only in a different kind of way. The first 3 Halo games, Halo 1, 2, and 3's music, was supposed to convey a kind of hope that came with the Master Chief. Like, he's going to save the galaxy, he's going to make everyone happy again, and destroy the Covenant, whereas Noble Team and, you know, their story on Planet Reach, this music is more of despair and sadness, because it's invariable. It's inevitably going to happen that Reach falls. Throughout the entire Halo series, they talk about it and reference it, and we all know it falls eventually. The only question is how and what you can do to prevent it, because these characters don't know it's going to fall, and them fighting to save the planet, despite, you know, all of this, and this is perfectly conveyed in the music by Marty O'Donnell. The visual department doesn't actually bring anything quite revolutionary to the table. Despite a few pretty awesome effects that you might see in the background once in a while, Halo's visuals never have focused, you know, Halo has never focused too much on visuals, which is kind of a downside if you're, you know, like one of those guys who just doesn't play a game unless it has good graphics. Don't be alarmed, the graphics are good, but I'd like to think that Bungie focuses more on sound when it comes to the cosmetics of a game, or the aesthetic features. Or something. So, whatever it fails in visualness, it more than makes up for in sound, I like to think. But I do have to take a few points off. You know, people have said that the Xbox is showing its age when it comes to visuals, and that it can't be pushed much farther. I just want to bring up that Final Fantasy XIII pushed it forward, okay? None of you played it, but it did. And I like to think Halo Reach, you know, despite its clear focus on sound, could have gone a little bit farther in the visual department, which is disappointing, but it's still good, which, you know, I think it deserves credit for, but not too much credit. Or something. Gameplay. Well, gameplay has been revamped a little bit. I talked a lot about this in the preview episode, so I'll try to keep this short, but considering I do these in one take, I'm probably not going to go back and do it again, provided it does get, you know, cut long, so deal with it. Okay, gameplay, as I said in the preview, is basically what you expect from Halo. It has kind of a Halo 1 feel when it comes to character speed, jump, you know, height, and fall damage. Not to mention that you have a health bar and a shield bar, much like Halo 1 and ODST. Only ODST didn't have a shield bar, just had a health bar, whatever. The one thing that Bungie's really trying to push Halo's gameplay to keep it alive is the armor abilities. There are about 7 in total, and each one gives you different abilities. Sprint lets you run fast, active camo lets you be invisible, armor lock lets you become temporarily invincible, jetpack lets you do what jetpacks do, they let you fly, evade lets you evade stuff, and let's see here, and hologram puts a copy of you out wherever you tell it to go. So if you want to make sure a corridor is safe, just send a hologram out there. If the hologram dies, you know it's not safe. You can even trick enemies by sending holograms out to have them look that way while you can escape behind them and get a cool assassination, which is also new in Reach, assassinations. If you go behind an enemy, hold down the B button, like really hold it instead of just gently tapping it, you'll enter a cool animation where you use the Spartan's knife or whatever else they may have on them to quickly kill the enemy, which will offer you more experience. It's not much more, but, you know, it's good, you know, like 4 times the experience probably, or at least twice, and, you know, it's cool. And it's also the ultimate form of humiliation. Who needs teabagging when you make a guy wait, like, 5 seconds to go through this animation where he sees himself die in third person while you are triumphing, usually standing on top of him? Teabagging's unnecessary. Whatever you're going to show, if you're going to show your superiority, do it by, you know, assassinations. Aside from that, the gameplay isn't that drastically changed. There's still vehicles, there's still a lot of the same weapons, with a few new ones that I won't go too deeply into. I mean, if you really want a weapon guide, go on Bungie.net. They can do a much better job than I can. But I think that the gameplay is probably the best part about Halo Reach. It's the thing about all Halos, it's not story-centric. It's not, you know, a visual, you know, like, not based on visuals. The sound might get probably a lot of attention, but the gameplay, you know, is where it all comes down. Campaign gameplay is fun. The missions are all individual in their own way and have you doing something different. You will have a lot of situations where it's just code it from point A to point B and shoot stuff along the way, but there will be new, you know, situations like get in a vehicle here, or defend this point here, or regroup and then go in a different direction here. You know, you're never going to be doing the same thing in a row, you know. You're going to come back to the same thing a lot, just never, like, you know, immediately after doing it 10 seconds earlier. Yeah, I think the gameplay is probably one of the best things about Reach. Finally, Other. Other is basically a bunch of little quirks in the game that might boost its value. Some of the things that I found cool about Halo Reach were the increased, you can design your Spartan a lot more in-depth than you could in Halo 3. It's not just 2 shoulders, a body, and a helmet. No, now it's like 10 different options. Firefight voice, armor effects, knee pads, shoulder pads, 2 shoulder pads just like Halo 3, not just 1 pair. Visor color, helmets, bodies. It's much, much better than it was in Halo 3. Not to say Halo 3 was necessarily bad, but this is just way better. The emblems are probably the only problem I can see when it comes to designing your Spartan, because they actually don't show up that well. Before they were on your shoulders, here they are in this little tiny spot on your chest right below your neck to, like, the right of the Spartan, which is, I don't know, it feels kind of lame to me because, you know, you hardly see it, or it hardly shows up on your Spartan, which is kind of a disappointment because I always thought it was cool to be able to always be able to find your emblem on your Spartan if you died or something went into an animation. But I think I can live without this one tiny little, you know, quirk. Another thing that I really like is foraging. It's a little bit different now. I think they did a much better job with it, offering, you know, bigger budgets, easier ways to do what we've been doing, like making objects float is now easy, making objects be able to go inside of other objects. You know, what used to be tricks are now basic tools for forging. And the last thing I really want to point out that seems like a big quirk is armor abilities. I addressed them before, but they really do mix up combat and give it its own, Reach feel. Like, because of armor abilities, it's so easy to differentiate between, if you could just factor out sound, visuals, and just showed Halo Reach next to Halo 3, the armor abilities would define the difference. The weapons too, but I think the armor abilities are what really, differentiates between the two games. The scoring is going to be done in a pretty typical fashion. You have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's basically how I'm going to do things. Now, I'm going to give an individual breakdown, then an overall score, and I'm not averaging the scores here, okay? I'm not going to add them all together, then divide by the number of scores now. I'm just giving a basic rundown of these basic elements, and the score might actually be a little bit different from what you'd expect from the rundown of individual game elements, because one part of the game can be great, like really great, like 10 out of 10, but if there's a 6 out of 10 thing, or even lower, that could drag the game down, it's going to suffer for it. So don't think that this is done in a mathematical formula that's going to be exact and correct and exactly as you'd expect it to be. It's just a rundown of individual elements and then one overall score, seeing how the elements come together. I'll give the story a 9 out of 10 because of its engaging characters and new plot that's not centering around the Master Chief, that did a great job of really expressing what Halo Reach sets out to express. A planet that's going to fall, and this is a last-ditch effort to keep it from falling. The characters are great, and most importantly, there's a plot twist that happens near the end that's practically game-defining. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for story. I'll give the visual department an 8 out of 10. It's decent, it's actually good, but it just doesn't do anything outstanding often enough. The backgrounds in some areas look wonderful, and the character models are pretty well animated, like the animation is fluid and smooth, but, the foreground environments, things look kind of bare, desolate, and bland at times, which seems kind of lame, because there's just no moments where there's so few moments where my jaw literally dropped from seeing this amazing scenery. So, like I said, visuals get an 8 out of 10. I'll give sound a 9 out of 10, because, it's what you'd expect from Bungie and Marty O'Donnell. The music completely conveys what the game's story conveys. They go hand in hand. The only reason I don't give it a 10 is because a complaint that I had with all the Halo games, which is arguable, but there's no music in multiplayer, which I can understand maybe not having in matchmaking, but it'd be nice to have the option to turn it on and off in custom games. Like, if I want to hear the music, I don't want to have to sit at the title screen and wait for my favorite song to come on, or watch a certain cutscene over and over and over. It'd be nice if I just had a simple, easy way to listen to the music whenever I wanted to. Like I said, the music's great, but the integration of how it's used isn't, so 9 out of 10 for sound. Oh, and one more thing, the sound effects like gun firing and all that, that's good too. Forgot to mention, yeah. The gameplay gets an 8 out of 10. Despite, having all these new perks like new weapons, new armor abilities, new maps, the game does get boring after a month or so. I'm sorry, but the game just doesn't hold out as much as I hoped for it. When it comes down to it, it's still great gameplay, but upon all the years of Halo we've had on top of this one, no matter how hard Halo Reach tried, I don't think that it could have held up. And, it feels unfair to give it this, not 9 out of 10 score, or 10 out of 10 score anyway. But I'm sorry, I have to do this because it did get boring, at least for me, and that's just an unavoidable part of the game that I can't get past. So 8 out of 10 for gameplay. For little quirks and fun things that come with the game, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Because I don't know why, but the emblem thing just really bothers me. And despite armor abilities being cool, they just can't hold up the gameplay, like I said in the gameplay section. So 7 out of 10, because this game actually didn't have too many, big quirks, to be fair. This isn't like Red Dead, where you're going to find a bunch of random cool stuff in the environment that you get fun from. What, you expect from the game is what you get, which I can't criticize it for, but I always like to get a little something that I wasn't expecting with my games. And so, it pains me to say this, but I have to give Halo Reach an 8 out of 10. God, I can hear the fanboys and fangirls screaming right now. Oh, you're a stupid Call of Duty fan. How come you'll give this game 8 out of 10? It deserves 10 out of 10. Oh, you play Call of Duty Black Ops? Well, stupid. Yeah, I can hear them sending those messages right now. Oh god, it's going to be miserable. But yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed in Reach. I was expecting at least a 9 out of 10 when I was planning the review. But looks like it fell a little short. Don't get me wrong, it's a great game, and you definitely need to pick it up. Just not quite, don't expect the greatest game of the year, because it's not, alright? I'm going to say this right now. Final Fantasy 13 or Red Dead Redemption Game of the Year. Not this game, but it comes close. Review overtime.